Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the ISO, I'd like to welcome you to the 2024-2025 Transmission Planning Process, Phase 3 Competitive Solicitation. My name is Elena Kopolov-Alford, representing ISO Stakeholder Affairs. I'm joined by Alberto Baca-Chavez, Kingsley Tenjo, Parikshit Prathak, Rod Tunja, Ibrahim Rahimi, and we also have Neil Miller, our VP, on the line, and we have Ibrahim. I mentioned Ibrahim. We also have Scott Vaughn on the line as well. You can find all the materials that were posted on our website. You can get to the presentation and all the other materials if you go to kaiso.com, navigate to the Stakeholder Center tab at the top, and select Recurring Processes, and then from there you can search for the 24-25 TPP, and all of that documentation will be there at the top. So just a few housekeeping reminders before we get started. We do record these calls for informational and convenience purposes only, but any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. The meeting is structured to stimulate dialogue and engage different perspectives, but please keep your comments professional and respectful as always. And please try and be brief and refrain from repeating anything that's already been said so we can manage our time efficiently this afternoon. To raise your hand in this version of WebEx, the raise hand icon is hidden within the participant panel. So if you open the participant and chat panels from the bottom right, you'll be able to see that button, and you'll be able to see the chat window as well. If you dialed in outside of WebEx, you can press *3 to get into the question queue. And please remember to state your name and affiliation before making your comment or asking your question so we know who's speaking. And if you need any technical assistance during the meeting, you can send a chat to our event producer. They show up as Intalore Events, and the producer's name is Silas. You may also add your question into the chat and send that to all panelists, and we will read that out loud. On our agenda for today, from here I'm going to be handing it over to Kingsley to cover competitive solicitation process and schedule, submission of project sponsor applications, and then Alberto will be covering competitive solicitation evaluation, descriptions of projects eligible for competitive solicitation, and key selection factors, and then we will have it opened up for questions before we wrap this up. I'm going to be handing it over to Kingsley here.
Thank you, Helena, and good afternoon, everyone. So talking about the competitive solicitation process and schedule. Next, please. So the transmission planning process stays unchanged. It begins with phase 1, where a detailed study plan is developed, then moves to phase 2 for a sequential technical study. The board approves the plan, and phase 3, the procurement phase, is initiated. So the 2024-2025 transmission planning process started in December of 2023, where state and federal policies, as well as CEC demand forecast, CPUC resource forecast, and common assumptions with procurement processes, in addition to other issues and concerns, were all put together to develop a detailed study plan. This plan was pushed into phase 2 in April of 2024 for a sequential technical study. Within this phase, a reliability, renewable, and economic analysis was performed. A comprehensive transmission plan with recommended projects was published. The board reviewed and approved the transmission plan, and in May of 2025, phase 3, the procurement phase, was initiated. Next slide, please. 2 reliability-driven projects that are eligible for competitive solicitation was recommended for approval. The first one here is the Northern Receiving Station to San Jose B 230 kilovolt line, and the second one being the Manning to Metcalf 500 kilovolt line. Talking about the first one, that's the Northern Receiving Station to the San Jose B 230 kilovolt line. It is estimated to be approximately 7 to 10 miles long. Below, we have a schematic diagram of how this line connects both a start and end point. It starts at the Northern Receiving Station. That's the path highlighted in green. To the left, that's our initial configuration. It starts at the Northern Receiving Station and ends at the San Jose B station. On the right side, we have the ultimate configuration, which starts at the Northern Receiving Station ends and goes to the south to the San Jose B via a future load interconnection switching station. So again, it is the path highlighted in green. Next slide, please. The second project here, which is the mining to Metcalf 500 kilovolt line, is estimated to be approximately 100 miles of 500 kilovolt AC transmission line that runs eventually between the mining and Metcalf 500 kilovolt substation with a 70% series compensation. Again, below we have a schematic diagram that depicts how it does connect the Metcalf to the mining station. That's our red dotted line. Thank you. Next slide, please. There are 7 key steps in the solicitation selection process. The first one here is the posting of the functional specification and conducting of informational conference call. It's been followed by soliciting project sponsor applications, followed by receiving project sponsor applications, and assessing whether project sponsor meet the minimum qualifications. The 5th step here is posting the list of qualified project sponsors, followed by selection of approved project sponsor, and finally, post approved project sponsor and reports. Next slide, please. So prior to opening the bid window, the ISO prepares and posts the functional specification for each transmission solution. The ISO will host an informational conference call to address questions on schedule, process, application, and functional specification. Then potential project sponsors can submit questions during the bid window, and the ISO will post answers to on the ISO website for all interested parties to view. This document is referred to as the metric log for questions and answers. Next, please. So the bid window opens today, June 25th, 2025. It will be followed by a 10 business day opportunity window for collaboration. The closing of the bid window for the first project, the Northern Receiving Station to San Jose B, is on September 26th of 2025. As for the second project, the mining to Metcalf 500 kilovolt line, the closing window is October 17, 2025. This will be followed by a validation process of 15 business days, cure 10 business days, final validation 10 business days. Then we go into qualification 15 business days, cure 10 business days, and final qualification 10 business days. A comparative analysis and selection of approved project sponsor is 60 business days. Approved project sponsor selection posted on the ISO website. For the first project, the Northern Receiving Station to San Jose B 230 kilovolt line is scheduled for March 30th, 2026, and the mining to Metcalf 500 kilovolt line is scheduled for April 20th, 2026. Next, please. Submission of project sponsors as sponsor application. Next slide, please. So the project sponsor application includes the following. The first one here is the project sponsor name, organizational structure, and proposal summary, followed by project qualification. The third one here is prior project and experience. This is an Excel spreadsheet. The project management and schedule, that's the fourth step here, followed by cost containment, financial, environmental permitting and public processes, transmission and or substation land acquisition, substation design and engineering. Number 10, transmission line design and engineering. 11, construction. 12, maintenance. 13, operations. 14, miscellaneous. 15, officer certification. And finally, application deposit payment instructions. Next slide, please. So the ISO has implemented some few changes to the 2024-2025 application. On the cost containment, On the cost and cost containment workbook, description to entries to add clarity to submissions requirements were added to the depreciation breakout for depreciation for depreciable and non-depreciable plants. It was also added on the FAUDC and /CWIP calculation and assumption detail, the basics of tax assumptions, and miscellaneous small edits and clarifications were also added. On the project sponsor application, the application instruction now provide guidance on electronic submission of proposal and related documents. The proposal abandonment provision was removed. Next slide. Officer certification. The officer needs to certify that he or she has full authority to represent the project sponsor or affiliate of the project sponsor. The officer also needs to certify that the information contained in the application is true, accurate, and that there are no material omissions. So with this, next slide, please. Deposit fee. So the project sponsor must submit a deposit of $100,000 with its application. Project sponsor will be responsible for the actual cost that ISO incur in qualifying and selecting an approved project sponsor through the competitive solicitation process, including the cost of the retained expert consultants. Payment instructions are included in the project sponsor application. Next, please. So with this, I will roll the ball over to Adalberto, who will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. The competitive solicitation is Alberto Baca Chavez. Competitive solicitation evaluation approach. Next slide, please. At a minimum, the project sponsor's qualification criteria is the following. The project sponsor has to assemble or plans to assemble sufficient size team with knowledge and skills to design, construct, operate, and maintain the transmission solution. The project sponsor has sufficient financial resources, including the ability to assume liability for major losses resulting from failure of any part of the transmission solution. The project sponsor schedule meets the ISO's requirements, and the sponsor has the ability to meet its proposed schedule. The sponsor also and its team or plan team have the necessary technical and engineering qualifications and experience designed to construct, operate, and maintain the transmission solution. The project sponsor agrees to sign the TCA, that's a transmission control agreement, and become a PTO, participating transmission owner, comply with NERC and WEG requirements and standards, and will turn the regional transmission facility over to the ISO's operational control. Next slide, please. Also, where the proposed design of the transmission solution is consistent with the needs identified in the comprehensive transmission plan, whether the proposed design of the transmission solution satisfies applicable reliability criteria and ISO planning standards. Next slide. The project sponsor selection among qualified project sponsors. If only a single project sponsor is qualified, then that project sponsor is automatically selected. If multiple project sponsors are qualified, the ISO, with assistance of qualified expert consultants, will conduct a comparative analysis and select the approved project sponsor. Next slide. The ISO will also use a comparative analysis to determine the approved project sponsor. The selection based on comparative analysis of the degree to which each project sponsor's proposal meets the qualification criteria and the selection factors set as the ISO. The ISO's tariff section 24.5.4. The objective is to determine the qualified project sponsor, which which best is able to, one, design, finance, license, construct, maintain, and operate the transmission solution in a cost-effective, efficient, prudent, reliable, and capable manner over a lifetime of the transmission solution, while maximizing the overall benefits and minimizing the risk of untimely project completion, project abandonment, future reliability issues, and operational or other relevant problems. Next slide. Posting approved project sponsors and report on approved project sponsor selection. The ISO will post the approved project sponsor for each regional transmission solution. The ISO will post a detailed report regarding the selection of the approved project sponsors, including a summary of their comparative analysis undertaken. The selection report will contain the cost containment information of the approved project sponsored by no other project sponsored participant. Next slide. Project descriptions and key selection factors. Next, please. The key selection factors in section 24.5 of the ISO tariff outlines existing qualification criteria and selection factors in addition to any binding cost containment commitments, which the ISO believes are key for selecting an approved project sponsor for a particular transmission solution. The key selection factors for transmission solutions eligible for competitive solicitations can be found in the key solution factors, the 2024 transmission planning process, and you can find that on the ISO website. Next slide, please. To determine the key selection factors for each transmission solution subject to competitive solicitation, the ISO considers the following. One, the nature, scope, and urgency of the need of the transmission solution. Two, expected severity of siting or permitting challenges. Three, the size of the transmission solution, potential financial risk associated with the transmission solution, expected capital cost magnitude, cost overrun likelihood, and the ability of the project sponsor to contain costs. Number four, the degree of permitting rights of way, construction, operation, and maintenance difficulty. Number five, risks associated with the construction, operation, and maintenance of the transmission solution. Number six, technical engineering design difficulty, or whether the specific expertise in design or construction is required. Seven, the special circumstances or difficulty associated with topography, terrain, or configuration. Eight, the specific facility technologies or materials associated with the transmission solution. Nine, binding cost containment measures, including cost caps. 10, abandonment risk. And 11, whether the overall cost of the transmission solution impacts the ISO's prior determination of and inclusion in the comprehensive transmission plan of the more efficient or cost-effective solution during phase 2 of the transmission planning process. Next slide. Northern Receiving Station, NRS, San Jose B 230 kV line. The description of this project is a reliability-driven project. The transmission solution where the timing is critical to ensure reliability is maintained in a major portion of the ISO control grid, and specifically to serve the high load forecast in the San Jose area. The initial project scope includes the NRS San Jose B 230 kV line, which is estimated to be 7 to 10 miles. Approximate cost is $150 to $200 million. The in-service date requested is June 1st, 2030, and the key selection factors are the following. Section 24.5.4b, the project sponsor existing rights of way and substations that will contribute to the transmission solution in question. Section 24.5.4d, the proposed schedule for the development and completion of the transmission solution and demonstrate ability of the project sponsor and his team to meet that schedule. Section 24.5.4E, the financial resources of the project sponsor and his team. Section 24.5.4J, demonstrated cost containment capability of the project sponsor and his team, specifically binding cost control measures the project sponsor agrees to accept, including any binding agreements with the project sponsor and his team to accept a cost cap. Also, if none of the competing project sponsors proposes a binding cost cap, the authority of the selected siting authority to impose binding cost caps or cost containment measures on the project sponsor and his history of imposing such measures. Next slide. The initial configuration for this line, it would go from San Jose to NRS substation, and with the ultimate configuration as stated by Kingsley previously, of going to serve load, to be looped in to serve load in planned by PG&E. Next slide, please. The Northern Receiving Station, San Jose 230 kV line project. Here you would see like the new NRS, relocated new NRS line, and the San Jose B NRS 230 kV AC line. Next slide, please. On this slide, the San Jose B ultimate substation site. You see the new NRS San Jose B line, 230 kV line, which would have a point of interconnection. Well, I cannot, but point of interconnection connection here. Next slide, which is the sequence 2, Manning Metcalf by 100 kV line. This project is also a reliability-driven project solution critical for maintaining reliability in a major portion of the ISO control grid. The project includes 100 miles of 100 kV AC transmission lines between Manning and Metcalf substations with 70% series compensation. I know there's a question regarding that we're going to address later. Estimated cost is approximately 500 to 700 million. The in-service date is June 1st, 2034. Key qualification factors are section 24.5.4. The project sponsor existing rights of way and substations that would contribute to the transmission solution in question. Section 24.5.4D, the proposed schedule for development and completion of the transmission solution and demonstrability of the project sponsor and his team to meet that schedule. Section 24.5.4E, the financial resources of the project sponsor and his team. Section 24.5.4J, demonstrated cost containment capability for the project sponsor and his team. Binding cost control measures for the project sponsors agrees to accept, including any binding agreement by the project sponsor and his team to accept cost caps. Also, if no competing project sponsor proposed a binding cost cap, the authority of the selecting siting authority to impose binding cost caps or cost containment measures on the project sponsor and its history of imposing such measures. Next slide, please. This is a schematic for the diagram for the Manning Metcalf line, which would go from Manning to Metcalf. You can see the diagram on the approved plan project. Next slide, please. There's also the interconnection at Metcalf, where the new Metcalf line would come in from Manning, and where do you have the point of interconnection. Next slide, please. There's also this is provides like this a high level of the line terminations, interconnection at Metcalf substation, 500 to 230 kV lines. Next slide, please. The summary and the next steps, the project sponsor applications is proposed to the transmission line project, the ISO's website with the transmission planning. The project functional specifications are posted on the 2024-2025 transmission planning webpage. And you can click on the link, it will take you there. You submit applications. Also, any questions about the applications or specifications, you can submit them to the transmission competitive solicitation email at kaiso.com. Any questions associated with answer tables, for example, a matrix log of questions and answers will be posted on the 2024-2025 transmission planning process webpage. Completing applications, including deposit fees and officer certification signatures, are due on or before December 26, 2025 for sequence 1, which is the Northern Receiving Station or NRS, or SEB 230 kV line, and October 17, 2025 for sequence 2, which would be the Manning Metcalf 500 kV line. Next. This would be the due dates for both sequences when we would open the bidding window, voluntary notification to the ISO of interest collaboration. When we have applications, application validation, project sponsors qualification, comparative analysis, and approved project sponsored, and posting of the selection report. That would be for sequence 1 and sequence 2. And these will be the due dates. Next.
Okay.
Would you like to take this, Yelena?
Yeah, so we're going to open it up for questions. We can go back to the previous slide. And
okay.
If you'd like to raise your hand, please open the participant panel, and the raise hand icon is nestled in at the bottom of that panel. And in the meantime, we have a few questions that were put into the chat. So we have one from Ben Williams asking, the presentation indicates that the series compensation level for the Manning Metcalf 500 kV line is 70%, but the project model posted to the secured ISO market participant portal shows a different line compensation level of 75% for this line. Please confirm which series compensation level is intended for this line. And Ibrahim, is this something we can just answer verbally now?
Second, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Yes, correct. Thanks for that question, Ben. And we are checking the information on the market participant portal. It has to be 70%. So we will update that on the market participant portal, the project change file. And your follow-up question was if the TPP cases will be updated to reflect that before we start the studies. That is the plan. I'm working with the team to ensure the latest model is in the cases before we run the studies. And the last one on the fourth transformer at Metcalf, we have to check with PG&E. We received the diagram that Kingsley went through on the interconnection bay per se from PG&E. We have to follow up to see if there is any update needed with regards to fourth transformer there. And we'll get back to you.
Okay, let me paste that question for attendees too, so they could see that question as well.
Yelena, this is Scott. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
I would just add to the points is that we'll go ahead and record these questions, and they'll be added to the QA matrix so that everybody has this information, their responses. And that usually will come out on Fridays, maybe not every Friday, but when we get a number of questions, we'll put those out. So we'll record this so it'll be captured for all applicants or anybody who's interested, and post it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. And I pasted the question that was just answered into the chat box as well. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Okay, feel free to ask questions if you have any others, but I'm going to go to our wrap-up slides. So to keep everybody engaged in what is going on at the ISO, we've included these slides here. Here's our stakeholder meetings for the week and our submission deadlines. And then we have our trainings, market sims, and BPM PRR updates here as well. And for the Energy Matters blog, we just posted one recently on the 19th about the important issue of congestion revenue allocation across the EDAM footprint. The ISO Board of Governors and the Western Energy Market Governing Body jointly approved a new transitional method for allocating congestion revenue in EDAM after it launches next spring. So you can read more about that there, and you can subscribe from the button there as well. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands here, so I'm going to say thank you on behalf of Stakeholder Affairs. Thank you to Kingsley Tenjo and Albaca Chavez for today's presentation. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Silas, our vet producer, for your support. In a few business days, the recording of this call will get posted to the 24-25 transmission planning process webpage. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and participating in this presentation. Silas, you may now conclude the call.
Thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you all in the audience for joining us today. With that, our call is concluded, and you may now disconnect.